Okay. All right. Let's see your streaks. Hi, folks, and welcome to Opposing the Matrix. How are you tonight? Woo, what a day. What a day. I know I said in a previous broadcast I was going to take a sabbatical, and I am taking one every once in a while. It's kind of like a split up sabbatical, so to speak. And I just felt that I needed to get on here tonight just to show my face and that I'm alive and everything else, and go from there. So, anyway, what is today? Today is the 16th of December, 2025. Got 9 days left till the dreaded hour. Till everybody goes broke. Nobody's going to have any money after the 25th. That's your choosing. Okay? Anyway, I don't mean to mock you. I really don't. Okay, I just don't understand it all. I lived it. I went through the whole thing of the Christmas season and the whole 9 yards. For some reason, I don't know. I love Yeshua. I love that he was born. I don't think he was born on December 25th, but I guess you got to celebrate sometime. But it's all the commercialism and stuff that went into it. Just really bugs the heck out of me. And we got to listen to those idiotic Christmas songs on the radio now all the time. You know, you go into a store and they got them all playing. You know, it's crazy. It really is Jingle Bell Rock and White Christmas, which works if you're from the Northeast or from the northern part of the United States, but down to Florida or Texas or Arizona, you know, White Christmas usually doesn't happen, especially in Southern California. Anyway, I'm digressing. I'm going off on a tangent here. You know, I do that a lot. So let's see. So where are we on now? We're on Telegram. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Rumble. We're on Kick. We're on Trovo. We're on BitChute. We're on Telegram. And I said Facebook already. And I did say Telegram already. Anyway. So that's where we're talking from today. Man, I'm just way too loud on this sound. Hold on, let me see if I can fix that, okay? Maybe that'll be a little better. Yeah, I think that's a lot better, actually. Just turn down the gain a little bit. What would that be? Loss, right? If you turn down gain, it's loss. Oh, I don't want. Anyway, so, you know, if you've listened to the show any length of time, you know that I have a big heart for Canadians and for Canada. Not that I am Canadian myself. I don't have any relatives that are up there, but I've got some friends that are there. And what I see happening in Canada nowadays is kind of like what happened in this country in around 1776. No taxation without representation. They're taking people's property away. The whole 9 yards. And maybe before we get rolling, let's look at the 10 planks of communism, okay? I think it's really important to look at because it's happening. It is happening, ladies and gents. Let's see, that's the wrong file. Let's go over here. All right. That's the right, okay. Karl Marx laid out in his Communist Manifesto, demonic Communist Manifesto, the 10 planks that communism should stand on. Okay, and these are 10 things that need to be done in order for communism to exist. Okay, and you know, we've seen it. We saw it in the Soviet Union. We saw it. We still see it in China to some degree. Still see it in Cuba. But most of the world has said, you know what, this doesn't work. We're not going to do it, except for college kids in this country who think that it's the best thing in the world and let's just go ahead and do it. Well, I'll tell you what, you know, you live under it for a little while and you let me know. I think that it should be required teaching in every college. They need to hire somebody that has a conservative background that can teach history of Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union, especially the Soviet Union, you know, that time period, so that people can see and hear from an experienced person what that was like living there. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty, and most people suffered under it. You know, there was a few that thrived because they decided that they were going to just go with the system and go along with the other people that are enslaving everybody else. It's like it happens all the time. Excuse me, folks. I hope I'm waking up. I'm going to wake up here in a few minutes. I really am hoping that. Um, so Karl Marx in his Communist Manifesto, he wrote these 10 planks of communism. I explained what they are earlier. Number one is abolish all property in land, and application of all rents of land to public purposes. In other words, the state takes over everything. Okay? You and I know what happens when the state takes over something. It usually turns into a fiasco. Then you get a couple of little minions in there that weren't voted in at all, and they take over everything, and then they try to make your life a living hell. And most of the time they can do that for a while until they're put in their place. But the whole system is that way. They're not going to get put in their place, right? Okay, what's number two? A heavy progressive and graduated income tax. Well, we've seen that for a while, huh? I mean, with Trump, things are getting a little better. He's trying to do away with the IRS. He's trying to do away with a lot of things in that regard. But and hooray for him, and I hope he succeeds. But they want to tax everybody to death so that there's the whole object of communism, folks, is to get rid of the middle class, so that there's just rich and poor. There's no middle class, just rich and poor, and the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And the poor get more things strapped to them that they have to do in order to just be able to eke out a life, Okay, number three, the abolition of all rights of inheritance. Well, the rights of inheritance is something that's really big in the middle class. Yeah, the rich do it too, okay, but the rich have always done it. Excuse me, with the middle class, they have it was a privilege, or maybe you're right, I should say, that came with being part of the middle class. You knew that you worked hard, you built a little empire of your own, whatever. You saved a lot of money in the bank so that you could retire, and then when you died, everything went to your kids or whoever you wanted to leave it to. Communists, though, they want you to leave it to them. But what they do is they just take it away. They take away your livelihood so that you can't make money, and then they tax you on the money you don't make. Okay? It sucks. Well, you guys, believe me, folks, I'm going to try to stay away from this. All right. Number four, confiscation of the property of all immigrants and rebels. Well, we've seen that here, haven't we? Well, not so much immigrants. In this country, we give immigrants things and everything. We don't take it away. But in the communist countries, they take it away because especially if you're an immigrant, you're not part of their society. Not yet, anyway, until you've proved yourself. And sometimes that takes 2 or 3 generations to prove yourself. So, you go in poor, and you stay poor. And you get poorer and poorer and poorer, because they keep taxing your money that you're making, the little pittance that you're making. They've taken away your inheritance, so you've got nothing to look forward to when you die. You have nothing to leave your kids, or if your kids, nothing that you're going to get from your parents. So let's see. Number 5, the centralization of credit in the hands of the state. Well, we've had that for quite a while. It's called the Federal Reserve, right? But it's not even in the hands of the state. The Federal Reserve is a private corporation, and basically the state answers to them. So in America, it's kind of bass backwards. The private company tells the government what to do, but that happens a lot in this country. But again, that is being dealt with as we speak. Okay. Pardon me, maybe if I drink a little caffeine, I'll do a little better here. Okay. All right. So let's see. Behind it, it says, by means of national bank with state capital and an exclusive monopoly. Well, there you go. The Federal Reserve has had on us the whole time. But in Canada, it's worse. Okay, Canada is like we were 2 or 3 years ago on steroids. Okay, they've had two successive, that's the word I'm looking for, communists run their country. They're two premiers, prime ministers, Justin Trudeau and now this Mark Carney. Both of them are no good, Nicks. And heck, Mark Carney was he's really been involved with the World Economic Forum, WEF, and he ran the Federal Bank in London. So he knows everything to do. It's just pluck the money out of your pockets. Okay, I'm going to finish, then I'll go into what's going on in Canada. Okay. All right, let's see. Number 6, centralization of means of communication and transport in the hands of the state. Okay, that means they'll run all the buses, the trains, the airplanes. Okay, yeah, you may have private companies do it, but the private companies are really communist that answers to communism or to the Politburo or whatever system they have there. And so, in effect, you're answering to communist. Okay. I apologize for the yawning. Please forgive me. But I will wake up. Let's see. We got a new cat here for a mouser, and she loves me. And she's always trying to get on me. So if I bend down and pick her up, please, if you don't like cats, then look away. If you do, then you'll go, oh, what a cute cat. Okay. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, so they'll take over the internet. They, like in Russia, they took over the radio waves. You couldn't have a private transmitter in Russia. They'd come and arrest you and throw you in a gulag. And if you did work for a radio station, everything was the state. The state this, the state that. Hallowed be the name of the state, you know? And especially the leaders of the state. So, okay, the odds are getting a little less intensive, so this is good. Let's see. All right, number 7, extension of factories and instruments production owned by the state. Nationalization of everything, arms, you name it, any kind of factories owned by the state. A good example of this is China's a great example of this, actually, because they have a ruse going where it looks like these private companies are running everything, but they're just extensions of the state, made to look like private companies. But in the end, they all answer to whoever the leader is over there now. Okay, equalization of all to work, establishment of industrial armies, especially for agriculture. How many times did we hear and we read about in Russia where the granaries and everything were failing and stuff because the government put rules on the farmers. You can only grow so much of this. And anybody that's wise and does farming, if you need 5 acres of wheat, you plant 10. Okay? Because one way or another, something's going to happen to 5 of those acres, and you have a backup. So, but they didn't do that in the Soviet Union. They just, they dictated to every farmer, this is what you'll plant. This is how many cows you'll have. And then when you get the milk, you got to turn it over to the state. When you slaughter the cow, you got to turn the meat over to the state. When you harvest the wheat, you turn that over to the state, and everything went to the state. And of course, you have with the state, you have corruption and corrupt people working for it. And so you got Boris skimming right off the top, and you got Natasha Bullwinkle. That's funny. Boris and Natasha skimming a little more off the bottom, or off the top, I should say, until everybody's had their skim and there's nothing left. That's why they always had failures in crops in Russia. They always had these plans. That's another thing communists do. They set plans, like a 5-year plan to do this. And isn't it funny that the World Economic Forum is doing that? You have Agenda 2020, Agenda 2030, Agenda 2040, Agenda 2050. They set dates, and you know what? They stink and fail every time. They're failing right now, as a matter of fact, in many ways. So it's crazy, and how anybody would want that, I don't know. I enjoy having my own car. I enjoy my own TV. I enjoy my own computer. I enjoy this radio station. I enjoy everything that I possess, and but everybody in a communistic world wants you to share that with them, and that's not right. It really isn't. You know that, and I know that. But getting it through the mushmelons that are graduating out of college nowadays, that's a challenge. It really is. A challenge I'm not willing to live up to. Okay, I can't argue with people that argue for stupid things. I just because they'll never see the light. They'll just get stupider and stupider and stupider and more foolish and more foolish and more foolish, and that's all I got to say about that. All right. Equal opposition of all to work. So in other words, you will work. Okay. And if you didn't work, if you were having a disability or something, you were known as a useless eater. And what happened to useless eaters many times? Well, when they had purges and pogroms, the useless eaters were the first ones to go. Okay. So again, a failure of communism. Number 9, the combination of agriculture with manufacturing industries. Yeah, there's two things that go together, right? Not. So, oh no. Here. Gradual abolition. Stay here. Hold on, folks. Yeah, you're safe. It's okay. Don't worry. Now you got to get out of my way so I can sit back down. Okay. Hey, come here. Let everybody know. Well, you don't want to show yourself. Okay, that's all right. I was going to show you everybody, but it's okay. We have a labradoodle that we are getting rid of tomorrow. We had to get cats here because we have rats and mice. You know, it's a farmhouse, and the rats and mice are we're taking over the kingdom, so we had to get some cats, and this big stupid labradoodle doesn't know what to do with cats. He wants to play with them, and he chases them, and they get scared, freaked out. Anyway, kind of like the Democrats are doing nowadays, sort of. Okay. All right. So mixing agriculture with manufacturing industries. Big mistake. Big mistake. Two entirely different industries. But they put them together because I guess they figured that putting everything together in one basket worked. And you know the old idiom, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. The communists thought they could do that and get away with it, and it failed each and every time. Okay. And here we go. The one that all the knuckleheads out of the colleges are screaming about, or for. Free education for all children in public schools and colleges, all right? Abolition of children's factory labor and in its present form. Well, we don't have factory labor here in the United States, so, you know, that's null and void, so why would you even think about that? But, yeah, free education. And it's not free. Nothing is free. Even in communism, nothing is free. There's somebody that pays for it. There's some, you know, you'll have a subset of lower class people that are turning out tanks and other military equipment, working 12 hours a day, working until they're exhausted, with very little food to eat, which, you know, is just above slavery. And yeah, so nothing's free. And then he gets paid something, and it gets taxed to the hilt. So he brings home enough to make maybe a loaf of bread and a gallon of milk a month, you know. And And that's what these idiots want. These young people, that's what they want. And I'm happy to say that right now. I don't think that's going to happen, but down the road it will, because those of us who love freedom are going to die off. And God help you, all you people that are left by the wayside, so to speak. So let's see. I had this whole thing prepared here. So when it comes to Canada, most of you don't realize that there's a war raging for Canada and in Canada, and that the victor, according to the world of the WEF and other Marxists, won't receive accolades for winning anything. For Canada depends on whether the Canadian people. In other words, the Canadian people got to wake up now, right now, not tomorrow, not a week from now, right now, today, right now. And start putting an end to this crap. See, we've been putting up with this in the United States for the last, what? Let's see. Oh, geez. I don't know. I would say since, probably since Clinton got in office, it's been changing and getting worse and worse and worse. And then, of course, with Obama, and then with Mr. I can't remember anything. Anyway, so it took us a while to wake up, but then we got Donald Trump, and he knew what was going on. He woke a lot of people up. We were awake, and those of us who voted for him, of course. But so this country finally started to wake up, and that's what Canadians need to do. Okay, not tomorrow, not the day after, today, or tonight, or tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow is at the latest. Wake up, because if you don't, clowns like Mark Carney are going to lead you right down the path to communism, and he's doing it. But they're doing it very cleverly, very, very cleverly. I can almost applaud them for the cleverness that they're using to take over, because they're doing it in the name of the environment, and they did that here for a long time too. Oh, we're killing the environment. We have to do something. And Al Gore. I used to do a thing on, I don't know, I think I did on the radio, but I had I did. When I was on earlier, just radio, I mean, years and years ago. I had this thing, calling Al Gore, calling Al Gore, and I present, hey, there's global warming, but the last 3 months have been frozen in New York. Where's the global warming, Al? Come on, Al, tell us, I got to get back to that, actually. That'd be kind of fun to do. That'd be a kind of like a fun short in YouTube, if they don't kill my account for it. Okay, so they got to wake up and see that their country is being systematically destroyed by people like Mark Carney. Now, when you get to Manitoba and you head west, the people out there see it. Okay, they're hardworking Canadians. They want to earn money. They want to make life better for themselves and their families. But east of Manitoba is a different story. They're like the economic vampires that suck the country dry. Mark Carney and all of his liberal buddies, they sit back and do whatever they do while they're dictating to the West. Now you need to send more and more money. And they don't allow the West to even make money. Alberta is sitting on one of the largest deposits of oil that there is on Earth. Okay, and they could be raking in the coin, because the United States would gladly buy it from them. We are buying a lot from them already, but they can produce more. But Carney, nope, and his Trudeau's government, nope, put a cap on everything, seal it. We're not pumping any more out of ground. We can't have tankers coming to our West Coast ports anymore, because they could leak oil. Oh, yeah, really, they could leak oil? Wow, it takes an Einstein to figure that out. The sky could leak rain, too. And no trains can carry this stuff anymore either. So they're systematically telling Alberta, we want more money from you, but we're not going to let you do anything to earn the money to give to us. Except to raise the taxes, of course. Yeah, raising taxes is the one answer. Okay, here she is, folks. Here she is. She wanted to be seen. Now she's seen. Okay? And she just saw herself, and she's pissed off. Okay. All right, get down. There you go. Okay. This beautiful cat. Okay, so now Canada's turning into basically a neo-Babylonian state, or a neo-communist state, a neo-Soviet state, whatever you want to call it. Uh, but the politics isn't the only thing that's going down the drain. It's the culture too, and the fact that they're bringing in, just like Biden. I mean, our two countries, up until Trump getting elected, were carbon copies of each other. They're letting immigrants in like there's no tomorrow. And you know what they're doing? They're moving them all to the west. Yeah, they're moving them all to the west so they can get into Alberta and Saskatchewan and Manitoba and British Columbia and even up north in Yukon and stuff, and overburden the system. You know, these guys in government in Canada are not stupid, folks. They are not stupid one bit. Um, let's see. So they're trying to install a strong communist regime, and that the people need to wake up soon and repel. Uh, let's see. The globalists see Canada as a fruit ripe for the picking, and they're already plucking from some of the trees in an effort to destroy Canada. Okay, I hate to say this because Canada's a wonderful people. They're wonderful people. Canadians are. I don't know about the Liberals. I can't say that about them. But they're the idiots that put people like Mark Carney into office. And for some reason, they're mentally retarded. The Liberals, down there, up there, and down here too. But they, for some reason, they cannot understand that the system that they want won't survive. Okay, so here's the deal. Okay, Mark Carney, part of the World Economic Forum. What does the World Economic Forum want? They want everybody to get rid of their cars. They want everybody to run on, move into 15-minute cities and take buses, and be rationed to only so many air flights a year, maybe 2 a year. And so they want everybody driving electric cars. So they're shutting down, trying to shut down the oil production and the oil drilling and everything in Western Canada in order to make Klaus Schwab happy. I don't know if he's still at the WEF, World Economic Fund, but I heard one place that he retired, but still his ghost lives on, so to speak. But so then they're pushing for windmill power, and they're pushing for this and pushing for that, everything that happened down here. And they're saying that these things are sustainable, but they're not. When you see, there's no infrastructure in North America that can absorb changing this country from an a country running on oil to a country running on electricity. There's just not enough being produced, and so how do a lot of the electricity gets produced in the United States is through coal and gas-fired plants, both petroleum products. Well, not so much coal, but you know what I mean. So they want those things shut down, but they want everybody driving electric cars, and the system can't handle it. The system can't absorb all or provide all the power that it's going to need to run all these electric cars. It's just impossible. I don't know. It's crazy, folks. It really is. We're seeing the vestiges of it in this country, but we're seeing it start to get corrected. And man, I hope Trump gets in for another term, or Vance gets in for two, and and makes Trump the vice president. That would be wonderful. But anyway, it's crazy. It really is. And so the whole thing is to ruin Canada and stop its oil production. Now, if it stopped its oil production, we buy a lot of oil from Canada. We do. I don't know. It's like 20% or something like that of our oil comes from Canada. So if they quit producing it, we're going to be in a shortfall of 20% of oil. You know, it's and then we're going to have to start importing it from Saudi Arabia and other places like that, which we've been doing for many years. But I think that's kind of come to a close. But or even the Soviet Union, or excuse me, Russia, because Russia has vast oil reserves too. So, but it's crazy what they're trying to do. It really is. It's crazy, but it's genius. Okay. if you starve people to the point where they're really hungry, then you give them food, then you become a hero in their eyes. Now, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them you do. Um, you name your product, you cut it off, and people suffer. And but then if you reintroduce it later with smaller, the big toilet paper crisis back during the COVID thing, stupidest thing to have a crisis over. But anyway, uh, so it you prevent it. You start a crisis so you can take an opportunity to through that crisis um, to change things the way you want them to be. Okay, and I don't know. It's they're not making plans to build any more hydroelectric plants, dams or anything on any rivers. As a matter of fact, the former governor of Oregon wanted to get rid of 5 or 6 of them in Oregon, and that's what gives us our power here, because it rains all the time and the rivers are full all the time. It's I don't know. I really don't know. I just actually do know, but if I do know, what am I going to do about it anyway, right? Well, I could do a show like this and let you know what's going on. I could do that, right? So the people of Western Canada are very upset because the 10 planks of communism are being thrown at them, literally thrown at them, and they're far from being communists. As a matter of fact, there's probably more patriotic people in Western Canada than in the United States, I would imagine, anyway. But so all they want to be free, and every time that they cry to have more oil pipelines made so they can get their oil produced and make more money. They're called crybabies and stuff like that by the people in the East. Oh yeah, you're just chronic complainers. It's crazy. It really is. And so we're seeing Canada go through more or less what we went through for the last 10 years. And we're going to watch a video in a few minutes. And a young gal that used to live in Alberta, but now lives in the States, and she's going to describe some of the things that are happening up there that are that are manufactured to push the people right into the arms of a communist state. But just like we did in our country, people in Canada need to resist. I'm going to say it a million times tonight. You need to resist. You need to get going. Start sabotaging your little projects that the government puts out. Maybe that's the wrong thing to say. Don't do that. Don't commit sabotage. But just make it hard for them. Make it hard for the people that are making it hard for you. Okay, and that'll be a fun thing to do. Actually, that's what something like a rabble rouser like me. I might look afterwards to see what I could do in that regard, because I don't. To coin an old phrase, don't let the bastards win, and I'm not going to let the bastards win. I'm going to fight them tooth and nail. It's right to the grave. It's I don't know. I just wish that I wish that more Americans and Canadians would wake up and see what's going on. I think Americans have woken up to a large degree, anyway. But the Canadians are having a hard time with it because they're so used to being comfortable, or reasonably comfortable, I should say. And whether they'll ever get over it and start fighting, I don't know. But it needs to happen soon if it's going to happen. And so at least 4 Western provinces are planning on leaving. They're calling it Wexit. Just how you had Brexit for the British exit from the NATO bloc. No, not the NATO bloc. It's the wrong thing to say. The Western European Union. There we go. This is called the Wexit, and it's the Western Canadian plan to leave Canada. And Trump has already verbalized to them that he'll give his support when that day happens. That the United States will recognize the independent Republic of Victoria, or not Victoria, Alberta, or Democratic Republic of Saskatchewan. And then after they're out, then you can work on statehood. And man, it just so much nicer to see every part of this northern hemisphere red. Just be awesome. And perhaps someday it'll happen. I'm hoping it will. Let's see here. All right. This is why Wexit program is so popular. And it's so strong. Western Canadians from the plains to Manitoba to the Pacific shores of British Columbia. Why it's so important. It won't just result in Canadians losing Canada losing provinces. It will also result in a final wake-up call for any Canadian who's dedicated to being Canadian and not first another cog in the communist global set. See, they're worried about them going to the communists, too. Man. The people just see what communism's all about. And that there are no ifs, ands, or buts. That everything that happened in the Soviet Union is what's going to happen here. So, anyway, let's look at a video, okay, shall we? And this, a gal that lived in Alberta and now is living in Texas, I do believe. Very informative young lady, and she has a really good opinion about a lot of things, and so she's going to describe the votership in Alberta and a few other things too. So let's go ahead and give her a listen to. Okay, here we go.
Hey, no.
Canada's officially the dumbest fucking country on the planet, and so are most of the Canadians that voted for this. I'm not even kidding. You guys are so dumb that you don't even realize the police chief is trying to tell you right now to lose all ability for your survival skills. That's the PSYOPs. So if you don't know what's going on, we had a guy break into a home in Welland, Ontario and rape a 5-year-old child. He essayed a 5-year-old child while the parents were sleeping. And you want to know what's happened to him? Nothing. He's out on bail.
You just will not believe the depths of the stupidity coming out of Canada, Hamilton, Ontario more specifically, in a country where crime is running rampant. Criminals are running around with real guns and real bullets while the citizens are being disarmed. Homes are being broken into left, right, and center. Now the city of Hamilton is saying you can't have security cameras on your own property.
There are 10 security cameras mounted outside of Dan Miles's Hamilton home. He says they've been a valuable tool for crime fighting.
I've actually participated in evidence sharing of 3 homicides on these cameras, over 40 break-and-enters, multiple home invasions.
So it came as a surprise when the city of Hamilton asked Miles to remove all of his cameras.
There's also updated advice for all vehicle owners, a message echoed by Toronto police speaking at an Etobicoke safety meeting last month. Constable Marco Ricciardi had a new message for vehicle owners who keep their fobs in Faraday pouches.
To prevent the possibility of being attacked in your home, leave your fobs at your front door, because they're breaking into your home to steal your car. They don't want anything else. A lot of them that they're arresting have guns on them, and they're not toy guns, they're real guns. They're loaded.
Thank you, Chair. Chief Roskamp, is Canada currently releasing repeat offenders out on bail that are a threat to public safety?
I believe in some situations they are.
In Vancouver, just a couple years ago, there was a report that 40 individuals, prolific offenders, were responsible for over 6,300 incidents with police in just a small period of time. In your estimation, what percent of crime that's being committed in your community is being committed by a small number of criminals, repeat offenders, or individuals already well known to police?
I would say it is above 80%.
And while Eric over here is opposed to having people on house arrest, we do have to acknowledge the fact that our prison system is incredibly costly. Housing somebody within the prison system is a huge burden on taxpayers versus having them on house arrest, for instance.
And now, fast forwarding to 2025, and the government's coughing up billions in settlements, papering over the festering wounds of dispossession in order to slice Canada up into fragmented provinces under a new world order.
Private ownership is in jeopardy.
A precedent that will flow from this case is that sections 23 and 25 of the Land Title Act do not apply to Aboriginal title. Those are not my words. Those are the judge's words, paragraph 3551.
Another possible outcome of all of this land grab activity going on in Canada right now is that if this continues, what's going to happen is Canada is going to break apart in a very short period of time. We're talking a few short years, maybe. And Saskatchewan and Alberta are going to separate, and that will immediately be horrific for our already brutalized economy. And then the rest of Canada is basically up for sale, up for grabs for the lowest bidder. And we'll either be scooped up by China or the United States. I would personally prefer the United States.
It's a floodgate for chaos, leaving now native Canadians wondering if their deed is just a fancy IOU to the ghosts of 1874, as they undergo a private land raping by the New World Order communism, disguised as Prime Minister Carney's liberal Canadian politeness.
We should be taking into account the impact of our flying on the planet now, and that's
pushing up the tax on flying.
You push up the tax on flying, you push up the cost on transport, and that's in part what putting a price on carbon is.
John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
I'm cutting this. That's it, folks. Hell in a handbasket. But it's just crazy how it's like they've got this one way of doing things, the communists do, those who seek to form the New World Order and the World Economic Forum, through the World Economic Forum. They have this one little way of doing things, and they use it everywhere they go. And they used it here for a long time. Look at the parallels. People getting arrested and then back out in the street in a minute. That still happens here sometimes. Because we got crooked judges that were appointed by crooked people like Obama and Biden. It's a shame that those guys only get 4 to 8 years in office, but they do things in office that implement things for the next 50, 60, 100 years. And I don't know. I heard a while back that since what's his name? Biden used an automatic pen writer. In other words, he wasn't there to sign all these things. That they were going to try to make it so that everything that he did was countermanded and erased. That would be the only thing that could fix this country, or go towards fixing this country. Okay, there's just too much garbage that needs to be cleaned up, cleared up, and everything else. And I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that I think that here our plate is a little relieved a little bit. I don't know if it will be for long, but I feel like an American again. I really do. I feel like have some degree of freedom and sovereignty, and I don't have to answer to bankers or anything else, which is really nice. So anyway, that's all I wanted to do tonight, folks, is tell you that Canada is at war with itself. That the communists are trying to run things and ruin. Interesting how ruin is run with an extra vowel. Yeah, R-U-N and R-U-I-N. So maybe run and ruin are related, and they somehow split in a long time ago when words are being developed. But anyway, so with that in mind, and see, we need to pray for Canada. Okay, so in your prayers, pray for Canada. Pray for the conservatives in Canada. Pray that they get their way and they get to separate from that hellhole. Okay, that's really important. And if you're up in that area, maybe you could help them out some way or another. So just post anywhere you can to get to give information and to get information. Okay, about Canada. And I don't know. We got to quit ignoring Canada. I know the states have been doing that for quite some time. People like me and you, I mean, the government hasn't ignored them. The government's been giving them money and supporting them for quite a few years. But we just need to keep them in prayer and keep them in our good thoughts, and help them out whenever we can. So, all right, I'm going to get going. What do we got here? We did 45 minutes. That's good. So I'm just going to say, may Yahweh bless you and keep you. May he make his face to rise upon you and be gracious unto you. May he watch your going out and your coming in, your rising up and your lying down, and may he grant you the peace that passes all understanding. And just bless his name every chance you get, and talk to him. He wants to hear your voice. Okay. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Arrivederci, buenas noches, whatever you can think of. Okay. All right. See y'all later. Bye.